red chimeo mole in Santa Fe, a cheese wall in Detroit, and hot dog flavored ice cream in Chicago. This week, it's Darley Newman and Season 12 of Travels with Darley.
Traveling the world to bring you delicious dishes, tasty beverages, and interesting experiences. This is the Destination Eat Drink Podcast on the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
I'm Brent Peterson. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink. Destination Eat Drink is for foodies who love to travel and travelers who love to eat. And this week, my guest is Darley Newman, host of the TV show Travels with Darley. But first, let me ask a favor. If you like the show, please rate and review us on your podcast app. Really helps folks find and connect with Destination Eat Drink, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And if you're thinking of a trip to Spain or Portugal this year, check out my foodie travel guides. I've got complete ebooks to the best eats and drinks in Lisbon and Porto in Portugal, Seville and San Sebastian in Spain, as well as lots of other lesser-known cities that still have great food and drink for you to try. You can check them out at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink/extras, and thanks for that. Darley Newman is a TV producer and host. She's best known for her series on PBS called Travels with Darley, and the 12th season of the show just debuted, and Darley is back on Destination Eat Drink to talk about all these cool places she visited and the great things she ate and drank. Darley tells me about a cocktail made with local honey, sampling the maximum number of ice cream flavors, visiting the Motown Museum in Detroit, and Bigfoot sightings in Georgia, plus pizza in Chicago and pizza in Detroit. Okay, I'm starving, so let's eat.
Destination Eat Drink.
Darley Newman, welcome back to Destination Eat Drink. Season 12 of Travels with Darley is out now on PBS. Congratulations. I know doing these shows is always a heavy lift, but it looks like you had a lot of fun doing it.
Thanks, Brent. Yes. Oh my gosh. We've been traveling so much of the USA over the past few years, and also Quebec. I've been to Quebec several times, and we're eating well. We're drinking well. We're doing a lot of outdoor activities to work it off, but really finding so many hidden gems.
You know, that's one of the things that I really love about your show is that you always get at least one food segment in, and usually a drinking segment too. I know you're a fan of beer and cocktails and stuff. I don't want to make it sound like you're overindulging, but you'll have a beer occasionally. My question to you, though, is I'm just wondering, because I see all of these great foodie places that you go to, and as a person who, does food content on my website and on my YouTube channel, I'm wondering how you decide what kinds of places that you're going to go visit concerning the food. Well,
so some of them, it's easy. Like Chicago, you have to try deep dish pizza.
Of course.
Detroit is known for the pizza too, which I didn't necessarily know before I went there. But we try to do those iconic dishes or things that you would want to eat when you're there. But then I also seek out who are the award-winning chefs. I mean, those award-winning chefs, they're doing something right. So I always want to find them. And then also looking for those places that have been around for a while, these longstanding family businesses, and a lot of them are still small businesses that have stood the test of time. And again, they're doing something interesting. And I love to look at the dishes too, and the foods you should try that just speak to that area. What do they say about the heritage and the history? Because then you're eating something, you're learning something, and it really makes you appreciate the destination that much more.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what this show is really about, and I say it all the time on the show. Our mantra is food is culture, culture is food. And I think that's kind of what you're saying. Let's dive into some of these places, because you went to so many cool places in season 12 and some of my favorite cities and a couple places that I've never been. Let's start with one of my faves, which is Santa Fe, New Mexico. And you talk about Santa Fe and you talk about food, you got to talk about mole. You did a great segment going to this place called Cezanne. Tell me about your experience with mole.
Well, so I'd had it before in Mexico, but what I like about Saison, and it's Chef Fernando Olea, he is a James Beard Award winner, and his restaurant has been there for a very long time, but he is originally from Mexico. And if you go in this restaurant, it's like walking in an art gallery. There's really cool art all over the walls, including this gigantic painting, or I guess you would even call it a mural, though it is a painting of the ingredients that go in mole. And it's not even all of them because there can be, he was saying, 30 ingredients or more in some moles. And all of them usually have a chili pepper as a common ingredient, or chilies. And it's the one that he's making there is kind of a New Mexico fusion. So his is the most well known, and he makes many, many types of moles. But the most well known is this one that he makes with red chimayo chili. And I had gone up to Chimayo on a trip previously in the Santa Fe area, and they have these special chilies that, seasoned by the earth in the Santa Fe area. And he puts them in this mole with pinon nuts and apricots, and there's cinnamon, and it's salty and sweet. And he cooks it in this big like pot or mixing bowl that has in itself is like a kind of an heirloom tool for cooking. And wow, the fusion of ingredients, you kind of don't know what you're tasting. You're tasting so many things all at once, but then so many ingredients start to pop out as you kind of digest and let it like soak into your tongue and down your throat. I was just shocked at like the number of flavors that were going into this mole, and it was really, really tasty.
That's the great thing about mole, is that you've got all these layers of flavor and everyone's got their own special spin on it. So you go one place and it's this kind of mole, you go another place and it might be completely different. And it looked like that was a great experience. We mentioned cocktails earlier, and you went to a resort where you that has their own apiary, which I thought was super cool, and they were making cocktails with their own honey.
So I've actually stayed at the Four Seasons. It's the Four Seasons Resort Rancho Encantado in Santa Fe. I've stayed there before, and I kind of think they do really cool programs that are there, and then where they take you on excursions. I've done an Equus experience there, where I communed with horses, which I love. Mm-hmm. We stopped in because I did think it was interesting. This season has a through line for us of sustainability. And as we know, bees are very important for health and the environment, and honey can be very healthy, and eating local honey can be so good for you. So I was interested to try this healthy cocktail that they're making. I know, right?
Whatever we got to tell ourselves, right?
I know. But it was a gin cocktail that had fresh honey, and they go out, and you can kind of go out and experience and see the area where all these bees are producing this, they're buzzing in there, and they go and you can do a beekeeper experience. I didn't have time to do it, where you put on like a special suit and go out and learn more about the bees. And then have your cocktail. I just went for the cocktail because of my time on this one. But of course, so fresh, so tasty, just a hint of honey. And, it's another experience where you're drinking something and you're learning a little bit about ways that we can all become more sustainable and think about what we're intaking when we're eating and drinking on our travels and in our daily lives. So I thought that was pretty neat that they're doing that there at the Four Seasons.
And one thing you got to do when you go to Santa Fe is go to the Santa Fe Indian Market. You spent quite a bit of time there. It's one of my favorite places in Santa Fe. For folks who haven't been, tell them about the Santa Fe Indian Market.
So our episode this time really centers around the Santa Fe Indian Market. This is a yearly annual event. It's been going on for decades. And they bring in artists from across the USA and further afield sometimes that are making exceptional works of art. And we got to interview everyone from Patricia Michaels, who was on Project Runway and is just an amazing fashion designer. She actually, it's really neat to go to Indian Market because not only can you go and just walk around and experience art in all of these different stalls and booths, but there's music, there's entertainment, there are food trucks. I had a great Indian taco there. And so you get this combination of food, art, and fashion. And then there are different events around Indian market. So there's fashion shows. And then, of course, there's all of the other things that you can do in the Santa Fe area. So I also went to local museums. And I did, dance lesson, went to Cezanne, went to Loretto Chapel to learn about their mysterious spiral staircase that's in there. So really, I think it's a great time to visit because it's so vibrant. You can find unique things and works that you would never necessarily, you're not going to find them online. Some people are actually producing art just for this special show and these special few days. And I really loved it. Some people go year after year to collect. Other people go just to kind of get ideas and feel more creative. But you'll really, one thing that I was encouraged to do was to talk to different artists, which I did when I was there. And I just found that I learned so much by speaking with people and kind of understanding more about what inspires their work from a lot of times maybe their background, their history, their different pueblos, and then things that they've, skills and crafts and trades that they've learned from their grandparents and their great grandparents. So really interesting, fascinating look at art and culture.
Let's move to Detroit. And you mentioned Detroit style pizza, which I guess a lot of people know New York style pizza and people know Chicago style pizza. And there's lots of other kinds of pizzas. But I think a lot of people don't know about Detroit style pizza. We've talked about it a couple times on the podcast, but it's this own unique thing. And I love Detroit style pizza. How did you find it?
Fantastic.
I mean, what's not to like when it gets all crispy on the corners there? It's so good.
So I thought it was really interesting because I sat down at Buddy's Pizza, which is one of the iconic Detroit style pizza places.
The place.
Yeah, they have a couple locations. I sat down with Wesley Pakula, who's been working there forever, and he was sharing with me. So they do their pizza in these pans that are they're from the automotive industry, which has, Detroit, we think about the automotive industry. So that in itself, I thought was kind of strange and interesting. They're cooking their pizza in these pans that they were using when they're producing or working on cars.
Right.
But they do their pizza differently. It is thick. It has this wall of where the cheese kind of goes over the dough into the surrounding wall of the pizza. And then it gets crisp, kind of like gets a little bit almost like you flame broiled the cheese on the side, and they call it Frico. He said it was called Frico, the cheese wall. And I said, oh my gosh, that's the best thing I've heard, at least all week. I love cheese.
How can you go wrong with a cheese wall, right?
Yeah, no, but Brent, it's so interesting because they layer the cheese differently. So they put, for instance, in some of the toppings they would put under the cheese. So again, doing things a little bit differently there in Detroit. But I thought it was fantastic, really thick. And actually, that reminds me because they said they were going to send me some, they were going to ship me some to my house in New York. And I need to call them and tell them that they need to ship that pizza.
Get that in the mail today.
Yes.
One thing you did is you went to the Motown Museum. I haven't been back to Detroit since I was a little kid. Our family lived there until I think I was like 10 years old. And I don't know if the Motown Museum was even around then, probably not. But I've always wanted to go back and go to that Motown Museum. It seems so cool. And I kind of got to live vicariously watching you walk through that Motown Museum and seeing the pictures and the instruments that all these famous people played. Were you kind of awestruck when you were there?
I was. I love Stevie Wonder.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was really interested to hear more about who had done recordings here. It's been called Hitsville, USA, this little house in Detroit. And I got to tour it with Robin Terry, her grandmother, Esther Gordon Edwards, and her uncle. It's her great uncle, I think, Barry Gordy. He founded Motown Records there. And so they have the original studio inside. You can go in and see where so many great artists have recorded these hits. And it's walking through almost like a little time capsule because they haven't changed the studio. And so you kind of take a walk in and you can almost hear the music, and they've got photographs and you can learn and see sort of what happened there. But the Studio A is pretty neat to go inside.
Yeah, I would love to go there because those Motown records were just so spectacular. A lot of people may not realize, you're going back 60 years now for some of these records. And this was at the time when the British invasion was happening and the Beatles were ruling the charts. But people don't realize Motown was right there with them. Like the Supremes were as big as the Beatles for a period. The Temptations were as big as the Beatles for a period there. And those records still stand up today. They're so good. And Stevie Wonder, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Love it.
As I watched you go through the Motown Museum, one of the things that struck me is something that I've thought about for a long time because I'm a Chicago guy. And I just think Chicago should do the same thing with like a blues museum to Chess Records, because all those guys who were the blues musicians starting in the late 40s through the 70s, from Muddy Waters and Willie Dixon and even Chuck Berry up to Buddy Guy and all of these guys, they recorded in Chicago. And there's not really a central place where those people can go, which I think is a shame. I think it could be as good as the Motown Museum because there were so many great records that were cut in Chicago. But I bring this up because you went to Chicago. I'm a Chicago guy. I've done episodes on Chicago. And as I was looking through your stuff, I read that you went to a museum of ice cream. And as someone who lived in Chicago, who grew up in the area, I didn't know there was a museum of ice cream. So I'm going to have to go there next time I go back to visit friends and family. But tell me about the Museum of Ice Cream in Chicago.
Well, it's funny because, again, we talk about how do you pick what to eat when you go different places. Well, you have to have a hot dog when you go to Chicago. And I went to the Chicago Sports Museum, to their Harry Carey's restaurant, and had a hot dog with the works. And that was delicious. Then I went to the Museum of Ice Cream because I really wanted to try hot dog ice cream, which they promote.
Hot dog ice cream? Great. What?
It sounds bizarre. So you get like a little purplish colored bun, and then the actual ice cream is supposed to have a hot dog flavor. It's a soft serve that they roll onto the hot dog bun so it looks like a hot dog. But then, Brent, they actually cover it with actual relish. And I was like, this is strange. This is strange. It's a little bit weird. I don't know that I would call it good, but it's an attraction, and I thought it was cute, and I thought it was a good idea. I mean, the rest of the ice cream within this museum of ice cream, around every corner, you can try a different flavor of ice cream, and it's really fun. They even have cocktails with I had a cotton candy cocktail in there. So it's a family destination where, the whole family can enjoy ice cream. If the parents are feeling like they're done with it, they can have a cocktail. But I love ice cream. So that's one thing I try to eat in almost every city. And I found that the ice cream there was pretty great, except for that hot dog ice cream. I'm going to be honest. Like, it was too strange for me, but I'm glad I tried it because I'm in Chicago. So why not?
Yeah, not your favorite. That's okay. That's why we try things, right? We find out what we like, what we don't like. I know you went to Gino's East, and this might be kind of a subject that's taboo as someone who lives in New York, because there's always this war between Chicago and New York about pizza. Jon Stewart famously had this rant about Chicago-style pizza, which I thought was hilarious, was so funny. But I know that New Yorkers kind of roll their eyes at Chicago deep dish pizza. You, as a New Yorker, what's your take?
I loved it. Again, it's different. It's totally different than New York pizza. So the Geno's is delicious. He described the crust as like a cornmeal, having almost a cornmeal flavor, which it does. Mm-hmm. They don't tell you. Apparently, whatever they're doing to the dough, they condition it with some special conditioner, which is a secret. That's kind of their thing at Geno's. But it's thick. It's one piece. If you're a little hungry, it's a meal. If you go to two, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I feel like I've had a lot right now.
Let's go back to the hotel and take a nap.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought it was great. I mean, honestly, that pizza was great. I don't know if Detroit versus Chicago, that would be definitely something that would get people excited because both of them are so good. They're different. They're all different. But I love New York pizza. I love Chicago pizza. Detroit pizza was spectacular too. So I'll take it all. But it's very thick. It's gooey. When you pick it up, the cheese just kind of like hangs on to the other piece. So you really get that nice cheese pull.
Oh, yeah.
And I definitely would recommend stopping at Geno's East.
We talked about the Museum of Ice Cream, and you did an episode in Fargo, North Dakota. Now, I got to admit, I've never been to North Dakota. I've been to almost all 50 states, but North and South Dakota are two that I haven't been to. And I thought this place called Cows and Company had such a unique take because I made gelato for many years in Austin, Texas, and it never occurred to me, I don't know why, but it never occurred to me to have a place where you're doing gelato and cheese at the same place. But of course, it makes complete sense to put them both together in one spot because they both have the same base. So what a brilliant idea. Hats off to Cows and Company. How is their gelato?
Oh, great. I have some friends who make fun of me because if I go to an ice cream shop that I haven't been to and they have unique flavors, I will taste as many as they'll let me. I will have ice. I will get one once I do, or at least a couple scoops. So I'm not going to eat the samples and run. But I love to try the different flavors. They have this cheesecake gelato. It's made with house-made graham cracker crumble. They've got like this blueberry sauce. It's super creamy. They have a yogurt, cherry gelato. She's got really unique flavors, and it's all homemade right from the farm. I mean, you can go out and see the cows here. This is in, kind of an off the beaten path location outside of Fargo in a very small place called Carrington, where Marta Murphy, whose family is from Europe, they came over, they got this farm in North Dakota, and they started making cheese and gelato. So when you go there, you can have cheese, you can have gelato, you can have fresh cheese curds, which I actually like as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really neat. And you can learn about the process that they use to make Gouda there, which is the specialty cheese that they make all these different types of Gouda, so that are aged in different ways. And it was really neat to try not only the cheese, but then go in and have gelato. I mean, if you're lactose intolerant, I'm not sure this is a great stop for you, but as an ice cream and cheese lover, it's another cool place. And you can find their ice cream also in Fargo. So you don't have to go out to the farm to try it, but it's pretty neat that you can go out to the farm and experience kind of farm life as well.
Yeah, when I made gelato, I used to call it putting on my mad scientist hat. And one flavor I used to make was ricotta cheese, honey, and nutmeg. And I think you, as a person who likes to experiment with gelato flavors, I think you would have liked that one. But I want to go back to something that you said that I thought was so interesting, because for me, I'm one of those people that can go into the gelato shop and maybe I'll taste one or two, maybe, but usually I go in and I know what I want. I laser in. My girlfriend is more like you, and she's like, let me try that one. Okay, let me try that one. Let me try that. So my question to you is, have you ever had an experience, like, how do you know how many they will let you sample? Does their expression change, or do they just go, lady, I think it's time to make a decision?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't want to push too hard. I have my limits. I won't try every ice cream, but if I could, I would, because I just think it's fun. And then you try them, you say, oh, I'm going to get this time. Next time I might come in and get this. And now so many ice cream places are doing such innovative ice creams. I mean, there's a place in my neighborhood in New York called Salt and Straw, and they have very strange flavors. They have like Thanksgiving, they had Thanksgiving flavors. You could get a turkey dressing type flavor, which sounds so strange. And they had pastrami flavor. I don't know. I'm not sure I love those, but I think it's kind of neat that people are getting so innovative with the ice creams. So I love it.
This is putting me back in time, thinking of some of the flavors I used to do at around St. Patty's Day. I used to make a Guinness one. I would cook down the Guinness into a syrup and make a gelato. It was so good because, you get those chocolatey notes in it. It was really nice. And when you cook off the beery flavor, for lack of a better term, it made it really nice. And in the fall, when the farmers would get the hatch chilies and roast them, I would make a roasted hatch chili gelato, which was interesting and fun. People seemed to like it. So that was a lot of fun too. Let's see. Let's talk. Well, you tell me, did you have any other favorite places that you went during this season that you found particularly interesting or delicious?
So many. So Quebec is in this season, and I thought this is going to be an interesting episode for people because we go to places that you definitely probably don't know about. Because I went between Quebec City and Montreal on this historic route called the King's Road. It's one of the original roads that connected Montreal and Quebec City and was made for actually like two-wheeled vehicles to go across. And now you can drive it as a road trip route. So we stopped at places that just wouldn't necessarily be on your radar that again have a sustainability angle. But there's a really cool place for a poutine called Tiwi Snack Bar along this route, not far outside of Quebec City, actually. They've been around for 50 years. It's a roadside stop. You'll find a lot of people on motorcycles are hanging out there. But they have this decadent menu of poutine. So I actually didn't even realize that people made poutine with these different toppings and ingredients. So I had poutine with peas and chicken.
Oh.
So I know, really? I said, I didn't know that would even be poutine. But it still has the cheese curds and the gravy, and it was delicious. I had poutine almost every place I went in Quebec on this trip for some reason. But I really like poutine, actually. And if it's done properly, it's delicious. So that mix of the good French fries and the rich gravy, and yeah, I would definitely recommend that as a stop. And then Lago Marcinos, which is in the Quad Cities area along the Illinois Great River Road, which is this epic road trip route. It's like a 3,000-mile scenic byway that you could follow across this 10 states. We just did the Illinois portion, which is like over 500 miles long, which is crazy that we did that whole route for an episode, but we did. And there's this place that's been open since like the early 1900s. It's an ice cream parlor. It's in Moline, Illinois. They've won a James Beard Award, and they make everything homemade on site. They've got this awesome hot fudge. You walk in there and you're in an old school ice cream parlor. So I thought that was another standout. But there's so many in this season, so much good food, so many hidden gems. I'm really excited about season 12 of Travels with Darley because it's another really strong season.
You said the through line of this is sustainability, but I would argue the secondary through line is dairy. There's poutine, there's cheese pizza, there's gelato, there's ice cream. I think you got a lot of dairy going on in this season, Darley.
You know what? I didn't even realize that, but you're right. I mean, we've got chocolate. Yeah, we've got a lot. We've got a lot in this season. We were even down in Ellijay, Georgia, which is the apple capital of Georgia. So we've got a lot of great stuff in this next season and lots of good food if you love to eat when you travel.
What'd you do in Ellijay? We lived in Georgia for a brief period of time. We didn't get to see a lot of it, unfortunately, because it was during COVID. But, the stuff we did see, we enjoyed. What was Ellijay like?
I really liked Ellijay as well. It's got a mix of really homegrown farms and places where you can go apple picking and have giant apple fritters. There's even a place called the House of Applejay, which makes an apple liqueur. So you can literally dive into apples. But there's an Expedition Bigfoot place there where you'd be surprised at the number of Bigfoot sightings, Sasquatch sightings in this area. It's at the base of the start of the Appalachian Trail. So lots of great diverse things to explore. And especially if you love nature, it's a beautiful nature area.
So there's apple liqueur and there's Bigfoot sightings. I'm not going to say the two things are related. I'm not going to say there's any connection between the two. I'm just pointing out that these two things exist in the same space.
Yes.
Well, Darley Newman from Travels with Darley, again, congratulations on season 12. Travels with Darley is on PBS now. I encourage everyone to take a look at it. I've seen a bunch of the episodes, and they are super entertaining and super delicious as well. Thanks for being on the show. Look forward to all your new projects that are coming down the pike in the future as well. Thanks, Darley.
Thanks, Brent.
Okay, that's the delightful Darley Newman. Her show Travels with Darley just debuted its 12th season on PBS. Check your local listings for times and dates. You can also keep up with Darley at darley-newman.com. And if you'd like to hear more of my interview with Darley, you can get that at my Substack. Members have access to the full interview, including Darley and I talking about Arab bakeries and a cool horseback ride in Santa Fe. You can hear that whole interview at destinationeatdrink.substack.com. And that's it for another episode of Destination Eat Drink. Next week, we're in Italy, foraging for figs, plums, greens, elderberries, mushrooms, grapes, wild fennel seeds, medicinal herbs, and much, much more. Don't miss that. Until then, I've got lots of more foodie travel content at destinationeatdrink.com. I just posted a new video. In it, I follow a brand new bar opening here in Portugal. From the very beginnings of the construction to the soft opening to making cocktails and the big blowout New Year's Eve party. You can see that by clicking on the video tab at destinationeatdrink.com or by going to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@destinationeatdrink946. I also just posted a story. This one is about the daring escape from a notorious prison in Portugal. It's a fascinating story about the fascist times in Portugal and this amazing escape. Read it at destinationeatdrink.com/blog. And if you're planning to come to Portugal in 2025, I've got an ebook foodie travel guide to Portugal. It's just $9.99, and it's got all the best things to eat and drink in Portugal, as well as the best things to do in 17 cities, including Lisbon and Porto, of course, but many, many more. Get yours at buymeacoffee.com/destinationeatdrink/extras. Destination Eat Drink is distributed by the Radio Misfits Podcast Network and Ed Silla. Thanks, Ed. I'm Brent Peterson, and I'll see you down the road.
Join us next week for another culinary adventure on Destination Eat Drink, a presentation of the Radio Misfits Podcast Network.